were fires, and they burned heavily. I don't know if it was necessarily set to drive out the wolves. That makes a good story. I'm sure fires were set because back in the 1800s, a lot of people burned areas to open up for pasture and for land. And how did a fire get a start on Monadnock? Well, most likely it wasn't lightning, but it could have been. But I'm sure the woods in that higher area, because of the sheep and the pastures, and I know where the last wolf that was killed in the area was killed, and it was just south of us here on a meadow where there's an old dam. It was denuded, heavy rains, erosion, and everything else has happened, wind on the mountain, and just worn it right down to the mica schist that sits there today.
We believe Monadnock is originally an Abenaki word, and most of the translations I'm familiar with are some version of the mountain that stands alone because of its isolation in this region. If you're going up Mount Monadnock, as I've done a few times, and I get to the top and I look over it, I can put on different lenses depending on what time in the past I'm thinking about. If you're the first people here 11,000 years ago, and you're on top of that mountain and you can see for 100 miles in every direction, you're seeing these enormous lakes of water that no longer exist because they turned into rivers. You're seeing huge herds of caribou, thousands of animals moving across the landscape, maybe 20 or 50 miles away. But you're looking at that thinking, okay, I know where I want to be 4 days from now in order to meet that herd. You're looking at extensive grasslands and small stands of trees that seem to be increasing as the years go on. And then if you jump forward another 5,000 years, and you're a different native person up on top of the mountain, you're seeing a very different set of sights, and you're thinking about it very differently. You're seeing woodland, not everywhere, because there were some places where native people intentionally used fire to burn down mature forests and create undergrowth to support herds of deer. And you may see some clearings related to that. But if you're looking around the landscape, you're looking out toward the Sawyer's Crossing region of Swansea, and you're seeing smoke spiraling up into the air. And you're looking at that and you're thinking, yeah, I know who those people are. Those are my cousins, or that's my uncle, or something of that sort. You're looking even further to the west, and you're seeing sites like that where the Connecticut River is as well. And so you're seeing a combination of the natural geography, but also the cultural geography, the places where native people are living, and thinking about those two as interrelated.
Many feet in summer seek oft my far appearing peak, and wouldst be my companion. Where I gaze and still shall gaze through tempering nights and flashing days, let him heed who can and will. Enchantment fixed me here, to stand the hurts of time until in mightier chant I disappear. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now that poem goes on for 5 or 6 pages and talks about Monadnock in all its glory. And sometimes, as it was there, it's the actual voice of the mountain speaking through the poet. And it was a poem that every school child knew 100 years ago. It was a poem that a lot of people memorized. And on the porch of the halfway house, as people were sitting there when the sun went down, someone could always be counted on to know that poem and recite it. And everyone would listen to it in that group of people on the porch of the halfway house.
We need to preserve Mount Monadnock. Not only for the people and for the community here and for what it sort of represents, because it sort of watches over us, I think, in a kind of a unique way.
The feelings that I have when you get on the summit is a humbling experience. You look at how small you really are when you look at the view that surrounds you and the rugged rocks and boulders that you are probably a very small organism in the whole scheme of what's out there in this world.